Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. I'm your host, Charles. Along with me, as always, my co-host, editor, producer, co-pilot, gunner, navigator, orator, and podcasting associate, Jacob Gloth. How are you doing today, Jacob?
I am swell, Charles.
That's good.
You know, just surviving. I've heard, though, through the grapevine, through the trails, that you've got something special for us today.
Yeah.
And by special, I mean just a normal pitch.
A pitch for a TV show that I wrote today in my bed. It was good. The title of the pitch, I know I don't have that very often, but today's title is Arrogance, Paranoia, and Apathy. It is
Arrogance, paranoia, and apathy.
Yeah.
And you want me to type that into a thumbnail.
Yes.
And put that on this episode.
Why not? If you come up with a better title.
Long-ass title.
It is a long-ass title. But it's a weird-ass show, and I couldn't really figure out what else to call it. It is a murder mystery. A murder mystery. Ooh. Well, it starts as a murder mystery. It's set on a train in the 1800s.
Ends as a slapstick comedy.
I wish. That actually, maybe. But we're starting on
It's an Adam Sandler movie.
Ah, yes. We could cast Adam Sandler as one of these main characters. I think that he...
This is Hubie Halloween 3, by the way.
Yeah. Hubie Halloween...
Or whatever it's called.
3.
Hubie.
We skipped number 2. Is there a 2?
I don't know. Maybe.
Jennifer Aniston's in this one. Because she's...
Yeah, they're both in it.
Yeah.
But they have to both be in it.
Yeah.
You can't not have them both in it.
But it starts on a late 1800s train that's traveling the dark and stormy night of England, right? It's filled with kooky characters, and there's a murder. And our three main characters, the three kookiest of the kooky characters on this train, are Dr. Francois Herring, an Egyptologist who is going back to London to visit his childhood home. We have Mr. Lars Kalabowski, a tarot card reader and con man, meeting an old friend and in ye old London town. And Mrs. Henrietta Mitchell, Duchess of Winthrop Manor, a well-to-do woman attending to her father's business while he is in darkest Africa. All of the business takes place in London, if you hadn't figured that out. And these three characters are our main three. They're our detective trio of people trying to figure out what's happened on this train. So, begins, classic, you get your establishing shot of a train moving through the dark and stormy night. We're traveling, let's say we're traveling from the northernmost, we're traveling from Edinburgh, Scotland, down to London, England, right? So it's a long train ride. And so there's plenty of time to just sit and drink, because that's really all you could do in the 1800s. And so Dr. Francois Herring and Lars Kalabowski are sitting at the train bar, having a nice conversation over gin, and they're talking about the medical breakthroughs that have happened in hypnosis and hypnotic therapy. And they're, talking about it. It's a nice little character setting up moment. And they just keep talking. They're enjoying their drinks. Maybe we do a little transition where they have one glass of gin in their hands, and then, we transition into, they've got 3 empty glasses.
Wipe, yes.
We do a wipe. Yes, do a star wipe. That would be a good idea. And then, they're just sitting there enjoying their gin, they're having a conversation, and herself, Duchess of Winthrop Manor, Henrietta Mitchell, walks into the carriage. And she is all well-to-do, and she's got a servant who's following her, who's, carrying her bags and such, and all this hullabaloo, and both of the men are like, this broad, who does she think she is? Come in here with a fancy jacket and a smoking cap and all this such nonsense, right? And so the night continues. They all get to know each other. Henrietta sits down at the bar. She orders a gin, neat, just like the two men. And they all have a little bonding moment where they decide, these are the people I'm going to talk to on this train ride. And I'll never see them again in my entire life because, why would I? But we don't have cell phones now, so the best I can do is have conversations with strangers. And just as they've, settled in and they've decided, well, we're all going to go to sleep in our separate cabins, the conductor's assistant walks in. He bursts in through the door of the cabin, and he exclaims, "The conductor's been murdered. And the murderer is in this room. None of you can leave." Right? So, dun dun dun. It's a bad time. So we see the conductor's body. He's being, I don't know. It's not autopsy. They put a sheet over him because what else are you gonna do? It's 1859 or whatever.
Yeah, we're not supposed to look at the dead or something.
Yeah, some such nonsense.
I assume that was a custom.
Yeah, and also you couldn't have autopsies because if you chop them up, Jesus can't put them back together again. That was some bullshit.
I think they had autopsies in Victorian London.
There was a time when they didn't. It was a time where
like medieval shit.
Yeah, because you know how those famous guys who they were really famous for stealing corpses from graves and selling them to medical students because that was the only way that the medical students could get a body to dissect, and then they just started killing people to sell their bodies. That's a real history thing. That's not part of the show. And so these three characters, Henrietta, Lars, and Francois, decide, well, we're going to form an alliance because we three know that none of us are the murderers. But besides that, we don't know. We don't know about these folks.
It's Henrietta. She did.
These crazy, kooky characters, and we'll have all sorts of fun 18th century style people on the train. You'll have an old widowed woman and she's just sitting there and she doesn't look like she could hurt a fly, but we figured out later, maybe somebody steals her journal and she's killed her husband because he was abusive or she wanted the money. We have this young hotshot guy. He just got a promotion in the military. He thinks he's all that, but he really ain't jack shit. We have this brash American gangster guy and he's like, what? Come on. I don't give a fuck. What's going on here?
Yeah, he's probably gonna go kill somebody, but it ain't this
Probably
guy.
with them punches and a big salami. This guy.
Yep.
And this whole episode 1, is just a little bit of setting up. We meet all our characters. We introduce our various suspects of the murder. And the episode ends as, I have a good idea for they're, going into a tunnel. And, the moonlight is what's keeping the train car lit for the most part. Maybe there's a few candles or such, but it's mostly lit by moonlight, and they go into the tunnel, and it all, the entire train car goes pitch black, and that's the end of the episode.
And someone screams.
Yeah. Maybe. Oh, that would be good.
Someone could just be screaming because it's dark.
Yeah, exactly. Episode 2. Frank Hendricks and Larry Klinkson are working inside of a brand new lab. And they're working on this drug that's been shown to affect people with schizophrenia in a positive way. The year is 1968. The Red Scare is all about, and we're all scared of the communists and the Russians. And we're all smoking cigarettes inside. Mm-hmm. They're listening to the radio. And there's been some very interesting studies done at MIT that have shown great, leaps and bounds in the field of hypnotic therapy. This is a breakthrough, and these gentlemen are like, hypnosis, what a bunch of bunk and donkey poo. This is ridiculous. You want to fix somebody's mental health problems, you give them a drug, like us. They've got this, pill, and they're working on the problems. They find that the pill is dissolving too quickly. It doesn't remain stable outside of the lab conditions for long enough for it to, really help the patients or be useful in the wider world, right? So they gotta figure it out, and they're introduced to their newest lab partner, somebody who works for them and works with them, and she is a respected scientist one of the few women scientists at the time, Helen Michaels, right? And at first, Frank is very happy to have her on board because he's always believed in, women are just as smart as men. But Larry's not having it. He's a little suspicious of her. He doesn't like the idea that women are, getting jobs in scientific fields. He thinks that she might be some sort of a communist or something. That you'll find out that that's kind of Larry's explanation for everything. Everything and anything. Yeah. They're communists, right? And so he begrudgingly works with her. He explains what's going on, and she suggests something, and they're working throughout the entire night, right? They're working very hard. They're having conversations. They're talking. They're learning a little bit about each other. They're bonding, forming a sort of friendship. And at the end of the night, they realize they've come up with a breakthrough. The pill is no longer breaking down as soon as it's exposed to, regular atmosphere, right? Or whatever, we'll come up with a sciencey way of saying it. The pill's no longer, breaking down as soon as it leaves sterile conditions. They've done it. They've created this drug that will all but eliminate the effects of schizophrenia on people, suffering from it. And obviously they don't call it schizophrenia because I don't think that was a term back then. We'll just call it madness. Craziness. Yeah. Crazy madness. And they go out, they're like, let's celebrate. Well, there's a bar down the street. They're open late, It's only midnight. We'll go out, we'll have a few drinks. It'll be grand. And they go to leave when they find the door is locked. They've been locked inside. Dun dun dun.
No.
So, Francois and Henrietta Mitchell are looking for clues. They're talking to all the passengers. They're getting everyone's statements, right?
This is episode 3.
This is episode 3. Yes.
Okay.
Sorry, I should have said. They're talking to everyone. They're getting their statements. They're interviewing people, and this is where we find a little bit, we find out about the old woman, and maybe her story doesn't really line up, right? Maybe Francois read in the paper about this poor old woman whose husband died of, under mysterious circumstances. Maybe, he fell down the stairs. It was such a tragedy, But when she tells the story, it's a bit different than how the papers said it. And he's like, that's interesting, right? And we just, they're interviewing people. Meanwhile, Lars, our con man, right? He picks the lock of the cabin, right? Because the constable who's on board said nobody's allowed to leave this cabin. He says, fuck that shit, man. He picks the lock of the cabin, and he goes snooping through people's, sleeping quarters, right?
Yeah.
He goes and he finds the conductor's journal. He finds a suicide note. It's very odd, right? This conductor who died, just surprisingly, had a written suicide note. And he goes in, he's looking through other people's cabins, and he finds his way back into the very back of the train where all the luggage is kept. And back there he sees a candle on a wooden box, right? Just a little wax candle, still burning, right? And on the box he finds a journal. He looks at the journal, and he can't believe what he's seeing. These pages are dated for 2023. Why would somebody in the year our Lord 1859 be writing a journal set in 2023? That makes no sense. And all of this, what he's reading, he can't really even comprehend. It's almost as
you would probably think it's like BCE.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he's reading it, and it's almost as if these words have a haze over them, as if they've been charmed or something, because he just can't make head nor tails of it. They're English. He knows they're English words, but it's like all of the letters have been jumbled up and rearranged into some way that he can't understand, right? And so he's very surprised at this, but he keeps this to himself, because he's like, I don't think, this has anything to do with the murder. I think there's some other weird stuff going on this train, right? And so he goes back.
Could be thinking it's the Egyptologist's things, because he might think it's BC.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He could give it to the Egyptologist and be like, "Is this the hieroglyphs I've been hearing so much about. That's a good, I hadn't even thought about that. That's good shit. See? This is why it's a collaborative podcast. So yeah, he brings it to the Egyptologist, Francois, but first he goes and he sneaks back into the cabin where he's supposed to be, right? And he shows his two compatriots, right? He shows them the letter, and they see that it's a suicide note written by the conductor, right? And so they go and they confront the constable and the conductor's assistant, and they say, this is a suicide note. Obviously, the conductor wasn't murdered. He killed himself. This is ridiculous. You're holding us without any good reason. And the constable says, yes, a very, very compelling theory, except for the fact that he was bludgeoned in the head 13 times. I don't know anyone who kills himself by doing that, right? And maybe they whip off the curtain from the conductor's body, and it's just like this horribly
squished.
Yeah, it's this big, horrible, brutal thing. It's like, obviously he didn't kill himself.
It's like Oberyn Martell.
Exactly. They cracked his head open.
Spoilers.
Like a coconut. Yum, yum, yum. And so this
watermelon with a billion rubber bands.
Yeah. And Pedro Pascal's face carved into it. And then they're just like, oh, well, I guess there is still a murderer on the loose. Just as they, decide that this wasn't a suicide, dun dun dun, a flash of lightning, the train car goes dark, there's a horrible, death-curdling scream, and the old woman is found on the ground, the knife in her back. Dun dun dun.
She killed herself.
Yeah, she killed herself. She put it down, she glued it to the ground, and then she fell back.
And then she jumped.
Yeah. Episode 4. So, what are their names? Larry, Frank, and Helen. They're locked inside this lab, and they really don't know what to do. So they decide Helen, she's the smallest, she's the lightest. Maybe if we, after they go around, they explore different various escape methods. Like they try and open the doors and open the windows and all that stuff, but none of it works, right? And so they figure, well, she's the smallest, so let's get her up in the vents, and maybe she could crawl around the vents and get out and find help or something, or unlock the door for us or something. And Helen's like, oh, well, you know what? It's fine, right? Like, this is a new job. I guess I'll do it, And so she gets up in the vent, and she's crawling through the vents, and they're blocked off. She can't reach anything. There's just like these metal bars that are blocking them in, but she sees on the other side of the metal bars, there's a strange pile of letters, right? They're bound together up in the vents as if they're being hidden. So she maybe she unties her belt, or maybe she's got a tie on, and it's a tense scene where she's trying to whip the cloth over and pull the letters closer to her. Maybe the heating in the building has been turned on, so it gives us a bit of a time limit, right? Because if she stays in the vents too long, she'll be cooked and be seriously burned, right? But she manages to get the envelope of letters, right? And she crawls back out. She says, it's blocked, but look what I found. And it's a series of letters, correspondence about secret things happening in this lab, things that only Frank and Larry could know, and they're immediately suspicious of one another. Obviously, they're like, well, these letters have
no Larry.
Exactly. They're very angry, and they're like, how could you do this to us? How could you sell us out to the communists, right? And that's what Larry goes to. It's like, maybe you're always bringing up the communists because you're secretly a communist.
That's exactly what a communist would say.
You dirty commie, and they get into a fist fight, right? They get all, it's a whole thing, big dramatic 60s style fight where they just keep throwing right hooks and, uppercuts, and that's it, because it was the 60s. And within the fight, it's such a violent encounter within this delicate lab that some of the chemicals that are sitting on the table fall and crash on the ground, along with the pill that they created. The anti-schizophrenia drug.
No.
Oh no, it's fallen into this acid, right? And it's dissolved. and it's pluming out into the air, you know? And it aerates, and they start getting like, whoa, freak out, man. Episode 5. The victim of this stabbing, the old woman, has a bloody knife in her back. And a bloody knife in her jacket. Weird. She's got one hidden on her person.
Like she got stabbed, or it's a knife that...
No, she's hidden it in her person.
Oh, okay, so it's not in her.
Yeah. And the Egyptologist, he's also, he's a bit of a medical doctor, because everybody did everything back in those days. And so he notices something very strange. She's got this strange purple hue on her lips, and he knows this to be one of the symptoms of arsenic poisoning. This woman's she was murdered twice.
Stabbed and poisoned.
In 2 different ways. That's very odd. And so they decide that this old woman, her caretaker, was this kindly maid, right? She was young and she cared for this old woman very much. They're related in some distant way, like second cousins or third nephews or whatever. But she cared very deeply for her and was always taking care of her, and pouring her tea. And so the 3 of them decide that this woman, she's killed her matriarch. She's killed this older lady. Why? They don't know. Maybe it's for money, maybe it's power, maybe it's just sheer revenge. And obviously she denies it to her very death, right? Because she would never kill her ward. She would never kill the woman that she's charged with protecting and taking care of. And so, what's her name? What is Henrietta? Yeah. Henrietta, Duchess of Winthrop Manor, decides that she's going to use one of her brand new little toys because little do the 2 gentlemen know that this woman, she fancies herself a bit of a detective. And so she always goes and she buys the most high-tech, state-of-the-art detective gadgets and gewgaws, because that's her hobby, basically. And so she just got this brand new thing, a fingerprint kit.
Oh my god.
And so they fingerprint the knife, and it does not match the woman at all. And so they're like, that's very odd. Let's search through her apartment, on the train, see if she has any arsenic. And so they search the apartment, they find nothing. This woman has seemingly been, exonerated. But they do find the old woman. They find her journal, and they get some juicy tidbits, some details about her and how maybe she has an illegitimate child, right, that she keeps close, but never tells that person of their true, relation to her. And all 3 of our characters, they think, well, this woman, she's obviously talking about her ward, that lady who takes care of her, right? And then they're like, in the final entry of the diary, she writes about how her illegitimate son, he, will be on the train tonight, and she'll confront him with this news and try and convince him to forgive her, right? Dun dun dun. The end of the episode. Episode 5, they end with, holy shit, her illegitimate son is on the train right now. It's not the woman who takes care of her. And
it's the military guy.
Maybe that's the reason that she's dead, is she confronted her illegitimate son with the truth, and he couldn't handle it, and so he stabbed her in the back.
Yeah, because it would mean he isn't royal or something.
Yeah, or just like, why... But then, obviously why did he kill the conductor? If these are, best case scenario, this guy killed a conductor for no reason and then killed his mom out of anger. Or
there's 2 killers.
There's 2 killers on the train. Right? End of episode 5.
Everyone's a killer.
Yep. They're all killers. Maybe. Who knows? And so, episode 6. Larry Frank and Helen are tripping balls, right? They are freaking out in this confined lab space. They're seeing all sorts of psychedelic imagery. They're, freaking out. They're having nightmares. Maybe we could do like an animated section for this where they're like getting their faces eaten by demons and stuff. And then, time passes. They wake up as the sun, crests over a new horizon. And they notice that the entire lab has been absolutely destroyed. And in a small pile in the middle of the lab is just bugs. Not like flying insects or like insects, but bugs like secret recording devices. Apparently, in their drug-fueled stupor, they got it in their idea that they're being bugged, and they tore apart the entire laboratory to find all of these bugs, and they were right, they were. So there's like half a dozen bugs. They're just sitting there, and they're like, what the fuck is this?
What kind of bugs?
I don't know. Beetles. John.
Cicadas, beetles.
John,
George, and
Ringo. Paul can go fuck himself. Yeah.
David's the last one.
And they're just like, well, this is obviously some crazy shit, We're being bugged. There's secret correspondence happening between the Russians. All this is a drug to help crazy people. There's no military applications of this. This is not like a huge breakthrough for intelligence. It's just a drug that's used to help people. Was there this much, espionage when we cured polio in 20 years? When did they cure polio? I don't know. In the 50s. Was it this much espionage when we cured polio? Maybe. They don't know. And so they've figured out that there's bugs. They figured out that people are listening to them. So somebody knows that they're trapped there. Right? And they've done nothing, or they trapped them there for a reason. And so we're just assuming that the trapping was an accident. Oh, the cleaning person locked the door by accident, didn't realize people were here. Boo-hoo. Whatever.
Yeah.
Now they're like, well, maybe this isn't an accident at all. Maybe it's a bit of a thing. Maybe they're coming here to kill us. I don't know. They're very concerned. And so after a bit of sciencing, and I'm just throwing together the 2 final episodes of these people. Actually, no. Let's just say it ends with episode 6 ends with them realizing that they're being trapped here for a reason. They're not being, this isn't an accident. This is happening on purpose. Right? Episode 7. So the 3 of them figure out, like, they go through this woman's, journal over and over again. The three main characters, Francois, Lars, and Henrietta. They go through her journal, and they're able to piece together the general, story of what happened with her and her illegitimate son, how she met this beautiful, dark-haired man when she was traveling abroad, and she, fell in love with him, but he was of low birth, low standing, and she had to, keep the family name alive, so she couldn't bear his child, and she describes him very well. And his description matches someone else on the train. A big, brash, brawny American man standing there going like, what's going on here? I got my salami.
The
gangster. And so there's all of this espionage. They're all like, what this gangster dude? He's your. So they confront him with the news, and he says, "Yeah, I killed the old bitch. She thought I wasn't worth nothing. I was fucking dirt to her, so I slit her fucking throat." And they're like, "Her throat wasn't slit." And they look back over at the body, and the throat's been slit. There was a knife in the back. Now the throat's been slit, and the bloody knife is on the side of on her left side, let's say. And they're like, huh, that was weird. Mandela effect before man.
I swear she got stabbed
Yeah,
in there.
Very odd. And I was having an affair with the, what do you call it? We didn't determine what the title of the woman who takes care of her is, but the woman that takes care of her.
maid.
Yeah, the
caretaker nurse.
Caretaker nurse maid woman is like, yeah, I've been banging her the whole time. This is a plan. This is a plot. This is a ploy. You know, the arsenic was taking too long, so I slit her throat, sped it up. You know, all that stuff. And he's arrested by the constable for his confession. He's angry. He's like, I'll get out of this. I'll kill you all. I'm a bad man. I'm a bad.
Once my friends in New York hear about this, you'll be dead.
You're dead meat.
Be swimming with the fishes.
Swimming with all them fishes in the 1800s, if we had that saying. We probably did.
They definitely did. Yeah. What are you talking about?
I don't know, because swimming with the fishes was with concrete boots. They have concrete boots back in those days? I don't know.
Yeah, they did. No one swam in the ocean before concrete boots were made.
That is true. That is a fact. So back to the lab, back to the 1960s lab with Larry and Frank and Helen, right? They've decided we're all smart people, we're all scientists, you know? We can figure out a way out of this without breaking windows or, you know, screaming for help or setting something on fire. We can use our brains and our knowledge of chemical reactions to get out of this. And so they create, you know, some sort of, let's call it thermite. I've been watching Breaking Bad reruns. He uses thermite on a lock one time, and that's what it is. It's thermite.
Yeah.
So you make a thermite, you know, a line of thermite, and they all stand back and they get it on the lock, and maybe, you know, Larry takes a puff of his cigarette, flicks it onto the thermite. It's a very cinematic shot as the flames, you know, touch the powder, the white powder, and follows it up. And the explosion, it fizzles and pops inside the lock as it melts, and then they're able to get out. They kick open the door, and they're not in an office building anymore. They were in this nice scientific office building, but now they're in these dark alleys. These dark, not alleys, these dark hallways that don't look like the building at all. They look almost modern, right? And they have all these huge cables, right, that lead them into the darkness. Right, these huge black cables that just lead them into the darkness. And then so they're scientists, they're gonna follow those cables. And end of episode 8. Episode 9 begins. Our three heroes, they're happy that they found the murderer, but they still have one question. Why did he kill the conductor? What was the reason for killing the conductor? There's no reason. We don't understand it. And so they go and they look at the conductor's body again. They examine all the clues, all the evidence. They search his pockets and such. And they're like, this is very odd. And Henrietta gets this idea, and she dusts the diary that Francois has been trying to decode. They dust it for prints, and they find that's the same prints as the conductor. This is his diary, but it's dated 2023 in a language I've never seen before, and I can't make heads nor tails of. Where did you find this, Lars? And Lars takes them back, and they're searching through the back train car, and they see a door that wasn't there before. Lars is taken aback. He's like, I swear to God that wasn't there before. And now, on the sides of the car, there are these thick, long, black cables that lead through this door, and they decide, well, we have to find out what this is. We've come too far, you know? And so they go into the darkness of this room, following these long, thick black cables into night or darkness or whatever, right? End of episode 9. Episode 10. Guy is driving to work.
Oh my God.
Larry, he's driving to work at his nice office building in the year 2023. He's having a good old time. Maybe he's got the same face as the conductor. Let's say. Same face as the conductor. And he's driving to work. He's having a good old time. He's singing to the radio. Gets to work, you know, shows up. And he swipes his card, he gets in, he, you know, makes a cup of coffee, you know, enjoys it, he goes up to the water cooler, talks with some people at his office job. It's all very mundane. And he gets in there, And then he goes in an elevator, he presses the 13th floor, the 15th floor, and the 9th floor, in that order, 3 times, and then the elevator just descends. Slow, faster and faster. It goes down and down and down and down and down into this vast underground compartment, underground facility. He goes there and he says hi. You know, it's just another day at the office for him. This is totally normal for him.
It's like any sort of like, secret agent going into the secret
Exactly.
base. You're like, hey, Bill, how's the kids?
They're great. Yeah, it's fine, you know.
Sox are doing pretty well this year. Yeah, I don't know. They need a better pitching.
I'm not good at baseball.
Crew.
That's what he says.
Pitching.
They're pitching.
What do you call it? What's the I don't know. Never mind. Just
yeah. You look for pitching, and I'll keep telling the story of this normal scientist who has the same face.
Bullpen.
The bullpen. Yeah. That's in a lot of things. Bullpens are all over the place. There's a bullpen in newspaper rooms. There used to be. I don't know if there still is. Bullpen in police departments. Bullpen in baseball. Bullpens all over the place.
Well, I assume they all probably came from baseball.
Yeah, probably.
Besides, the actual bull.
Yeah, that one probably came from a bullpen. And so he gets down there and he asks, well, how are, test subjects 1, 2, and 3 doing? What's the prognosis? And they're like, oh, well, they're doing pretty good. Like, they're taking a little bit longer than we expected. It was a little slow going to begin with. They all got high for some reason at one point. But right now, they're just about to exit. And his exit? Really? I would have thought it would have taken at least another 3 days for them to find the exit. Yeah, me too. But these folks are a bit sharper than we gave them credit for. Well, you don't usually find that much intelligence in death row. And so we reveal that this is all some elaborate experiment done on death row inmates, and all of the sets and everything are built, and all of the people inside are actors, but their walls that aren't real, when we're inside of each scenario, right, all 4 walls, it looks like it's actually there. And then it's revealed that the 4th wall is not there. In reality, the 4th wall is gone. It's been taken out and replaced with this thick glass that they, just have been hypnotically programmed not to notice. So it's a whole big thing that this is a pseudo reality. This is kind of the truth.
It'd be cool if you shot everything like that too,
yeah,
right?
That would be good.
Like you shot everything like it's a stage play.
Yeah, that's how I was kind of thinking about it. Because I was thinking, for the train section, the 1800 section, it would be a lot like the Murder on Orient Express. And then for the, the 1960s sections, it would be a lot like 12 Angry Men, right? It's all shot stage play-y, with a bit more fun camera work, just because.
It's all from that direction. The camera's always on that 4th wall direction, but it's pointing at different angles and different.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that a lot.
And so
it's a cool little
they're
settled thing.
They get out of the thing. They're revealed. They're both walking through the precipice, the threshold, both trios, and they just are walking out. And the second that they step through the threshold, they walk out of the simulation room, and they're just 3 normal people, just 3 people in orange jumpsuits. And it's been this really strange, complicated hypnosis and Truman Show-esque experiment just to see what they would do, to see if they would kill each other or just, any of that. And they're baffled, they're angry, they're pissed off. They've had these entire lives they just found out were lies, and in actuality they're all monsters who've killed and eaten people and shit like that. They're all real pieces of shit. And that's why they're doing it, is because nobody cares about you. Why are you doing this? Why'd you do this to us?
It could be a study as well, to see if the criminal part of them is learned behavior, or if it's like something innate inside
Yeah,
of you.
exactly. And they're just like, well, because we can. We're doing it because we can. And you won't remember a thing. Goodbye.
So it's very good scientific research. You know, we learn a lot from putting people in these stressful situations.
Putting scum like you through the ringer just over and over again. We learn so much about the criminal mind. And just, you know, as the truth is broken to them, they pass out. You know, a drug has been pumped into the thing, and they wake up, all three of them, sitting on an airplane, all next to one another. You know, it goes Lars and Francois and Henrietta and Frank and Larry and Helen, right? And they're all just sitting next to one another, just looking at each other, and they've got this sort of dazed look of recognition, but also not. And they're just like, what? Huh. Alright. Mayday, mayday, plane is going down. We have evasive maneuvers, blah, 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 we have to... And the masks come down, and that's when the episode ends. Black. Yeah. That's the end of the show. Arrogance, paranoia, and apathy.
You know what would be maybe cool? I don't know if you would do this in a second season or what, but you could do like, because there's the potential for the fake ending, like the Inception ending, where they get out of the facility, you know?
Oh, yeah. They get out of the facility.
But it's not. They didn't. It's a whole nother simulation.
Of course.
That was all just another thing.
That is a good...
It was like a way for them to test their security, where they created like a fake version of their facility within their facility in the simulation, and had them think that they got out.
I think,
and had the freedom.
I think that would be better for a second season, just because in the, you know, it was all a lie. This is actually a simulation done by a scary government, you know?
Yeah.
That the, you thought you escaped, but you didn't actually is a bit cliche. You know?
Yeah, you just want to end it there. Yeah, gotcha.
And then, so I think the second season, you could definitely do actually, they escape and actually they didn't. But you kind of have to get to know the people a little bit more and get to know the weirdness.
You're right. That is a little cliche. So we have to twist it. Maybe like I don't know if we've got different characters or something. The second season, but maybe if you did it like at the end, they think they escaped, but they didn't. But they actually know that they didn't escape. Right? They know they're still in.
Or maybe we could do like.
And they're, I don't know, they've got an additional plan or something. I don't know.
Or maybe we could do a thing where like it actually the head
one.
scientist was in the simulation. He was the one who was having everything simulated because, you know, he's actually the serial killer or whatever.
Oh, that would be good. I like
Yeah.
that. So he thinks he's in. It's like that's like the technician or the scientist that thinks he's running the simulation, but he's actually the criminal.
And the three people who are he thinks are the criminals are actually the lead scientists.
Are the scientists?
Yeah, there we go. That's a better ending.
I like
there
that.
we go.
I like that.
Yeah. So instead of
Good season 2 right there, because then then it's like a whole switch of things. We're focusing on one character now.
Yeah.
Right. Instead of the bunch, and we think that, and like, you know, he's like going to work, he's, you know, doing the tests on them, then he's going home and going with the kids. He's got like a whole thing going on there, like, you know, his like wife's cheating on him or something. I don't know. Kids are bad at school.
Kids are dumb, bunch of dummies. They don't look anything like him. You know, real downtrodden stuff. But yeah, that was my show.
Yeah, I like it a lot.
A murder.
Don't love the title still. It's too long.
It is a very long title. Well, let's come up with a better title.
A better title.
Yeah, because that's what the title is meant to be, like the three, you know, main emotions. The like each time period is represented by a word. So in the 1800s, they're very arrogant about their skills and they think they've figured it out every time. In the 60s, they're super paranoid, and in the modern day, they're just apathetic, which is why they're doing all of this. But, you know, come up with a better one. I'm all ears. I was kind of sleepy when I came up with that title, being 100% honest with you.
Okay, so the possible ones, we got our Canovaccio, which is like lists of scenes that people improvise, right?
An improvisational play from the Italians.
Pantomime, which like, a lot of, as a comedy, but people break the fourth wall in pantomime.
All the time, baby.
And you like Canovaccio?
I like Canovaccio. I think it's got a bite to it. I think it's catchy, and I think most people wouldn't know it, and so they would be interested just to figure out what the word meant.
Mm-hmm. And it does. If you knew what it meant, you're not like, oh, I know exactly what's happening.
Exactly. So, Canovaccio, my new show, created by Charlie McFadden and Jacob Gloth.
Coming to Peacock.
Yeah, coming to Peacock, coming to Quibi.
Next week.
We bought Quibi, everyone. Do you want to?
Yeah, we did.
Do you want to buy Quibi? I feel like we could afford it.
I don't think we could afford it.
I think if we pooled our resources.
Even though that it's dead, I feel like it's probably millions of dollars.
They tried to sell it, and they would listed it first as $200 million, and they sold it for $50,000. 52. Yeah.
Really? I could have.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, I couldn't have, but I could have got a loan,
If we had pooled our resources and gotten a business loan, I think we could have gotten Quibi.
Yeah, if we borrowed money from all of our friends and family and maybe
stole something.
I don't know. Yeah, stole some money.
Yeah, stole something worth $40,000.
And we'd own Quibi, and we could set the subscription to
negative
50 cents a month.
We'll give you 50 cents.
And we'll give them money. Yeah, 50 cents, and we it's just the podcast episode.
Yes,
now.
That would be good. But you can play them. You can play them vertical. Couldn't do that before.
That's what. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well,
I mean, you could on YouTube, but
maybe if you're a coward, now you can do it on Quibi. Get one of those TVs that flips to be vertical. Have you seen those? They're
No.
Yeah.
Well, yes.
They're TVs that have motors in them, and it's it can be horizontal, or if you press a button, it'll flip to be vertical. And I'm like, who the fuck wants a TV?
It's fucking stupid shit. Well, that's
stupid.
because fucking TikTok and all that stuff is so popular. So they're like, you want to watch reels on your TV? I'm like, no, I'll probably just watch it on my phone.
Yeah, I'll watch it on my phone on the toilet, like every other person alive. I also don't own a TV, so. Yeah.
All right, thank you for listening to the Very Reasonable Pilots podcast. Hope you enjoyed Charlie's new show, Canovaccio. And it's, I didn't see the twist coming. I thought there'd be something like maybe a time portal or something connecting them, like a time travel. Did not see the prison thing.
No, weird, crazy prison. So when you...
What was the journal, by the way?
Oh, the journal...
What was the language in the journal?
The language in the journal is it's just in English, but the hypnotic suggestion, makes them unable to read it because it's from the modern day, right?
Was it accidentally put in there?
No, they basically left a bunch of red herrings around just to fuck with them. That was kind of, that was one of the twists.
Okay.
That's why the old woman, she had a slit throat, and then she had a knife in her back, then she had a slit throat, and she had a, whatever. There's just a bunch of red herrings that are there just to confuse the prisoners.
Oh, just to mess with them. It's not like, like the intern did it or something, and he wasn't really good at it.
Maybe. Well, also, it also recontextualizes everything if the main head scientist was actually the one in the simulation. But...
Well, we were doing that for the second season, right?
Yeah. But thanks, everyone, and please have a good one. Please remember to like, subscribe, follow, tell your friends, tell your family, tell your dog, tell your cat, and remember, we will be back here with a brand new televisual series for you to imagine next week. Jake will be pitching it. It'll be grand.
I will. It might be. I don't know. I haven't come up with the idea yet. So.
Might be superhero related, probably.
I could do that if you want.
It's up to you.
Is that a demand?
It's not. If I wanted a superhero show, I would have written a superhero show. Yeah.
Okay. Why are you making demands?
Because I'm a demanding person.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna
go cry also for different reasons.
All right. Thanks for watching.
Goodbye, everyone.